Good morning. I'm Dr. Laura Shackelford. Welcome to the Higher View. I'm really excited about our guest. Hopefully he can get on. Jeff Harrison is actually our guru here at the Center for Spiritual Living for our media. Because of Jeff, we have all our 10 o'clock platforms 7 days a week. He films our Sunday services. He takes care of our Facebook. He takes care of our YouTube. And I'm really excited. And Jeff started off as a professional golfer. And so he was kind enough to do this show today with me, but he has an appointment in Irvine. So he's joining us in his car by video on his car. So good morning, Jeff. I was just telling them a little background on you and how because of you do all our platforms every day of the week at 10 o'clock. You were the one that got us up and running. I know that you train a lot of the CS. I think you're helping Founders Church in LA, and you've done workshops for many of the center for ministers for the Centers for Spiritual Living. You do other churches, not just our church. But what I want to find out is how you are a professional golfer, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's funny because there's a little bit of a backstory to that. I'll just real quickly. First of all, thank you for having me on. I apologize for being mobile today. It was, you got to do what you got to do. But anyway, I remember as a kid, I always say I grew up in West Texas, and I think of that as where my adulthood started. Is we moved from Casper, Wyoming to Odessa, Texas. Now, if you've never been to Odessa, Texas, please don't look it up on the map. It's not a place to visit. It's a wonderful place. If you've ever seen Friday Night Lights, that football scene, that is where it depicts that Odessa. It would not be uncommon to have tens of thousands of people show up on Friday night and watch football. It was all about football. But the point is I was a baseball player, and we moved to Texas, and all I knew is I did not want to be in the physical education class. And this kid came down the hallway one day and said, "Hey, do you want to join the golf team?" And I'm like, "Will it get me out of PE?" And they said, "Yes." And I said, "I'm in." And I knew nothing about it. And so I started playing golf right then. And really it's like, I guess it's in my DNA. Is when I go all in, and I get passionate about it. And I ended up going to college, playing some college golf, and then turned professional. That was my goal, is to be the best at what I'm doing. And that was kind of always my mom's thing. Hey, if you're going to do something, do it to be the best. And so that's kind of always been instilled in my brain. And I was fortunate. I got to play golf on the regular tour, and then up in Canada. And it was a great time. And I spent probably 4 decades of my life being consumed. I guess 3.5 decades of my life being consumed by the game of golf.
Wow. So then, when what made you shift? So then you weren't, what happened? Because I met you, gosh, you started taking classes at the center. I don't know how many years ago. I think one of my first classes, you and Carmen, your beautiful wife, took together. And so what happened in your life so you went after golf no more? What were you doing? Or were you were still involved in golf, right? Weren't you teaching and so forth?
Yeah, I had met this great man, dear friend now, and a mentor. And he was one of my students. And he said, "Hey, if you'll teach me how to play golf, I'll teach you how to make money." Because I said, "You're a young man." And I said, "You're out here every day playing golf, or 3 or 4 days a week playing golf. What do you do?" And he says, "Well, I'm kind of retired." He said, "I got into the real estate business." So I got involved in that. And for many years, I was a real estate investor, and I was fortunate to, hey, Jennifer, thanks for joining us today. I was fortunate to have a great guide, and I did a lot of investing. And then, and I kind of left golf as far as being involved in the golf business.
You're kind of cutting out, Jeff. We lost you there. You're frozen.
I still
there.
played golf 4 or 5 days a week because I had time, but I no longer was in the business. And I was fortunate. We did real estate deals all over.
Yeah. Jeff, this is a really bad connection. You're really hard hearing you.
That was
all right, Jeff, we really can't hear you. We've lost your audio.
I was a private investor.
So you were a private investor. We got that. So were you doing well until like 2008 or 7 when the market all crashed? Sounds like you were into real estate. Oh, I think we lost Jeff. I'm sorry, everyone. It's too Jeff, his career, his story, who this man is, I'm telling you, he is the idea man. He keeps us on task. And so I wanted to share with you that the whole purpose of this is to show you, don't limit yourself by, if one career ends, there's always so many possibilities, and to follow your passion, to know that you can be the best at whatever you're doing, or what is your passion. Sit with that. Ernest Holmes talks about the fact that we are not limited. The only thing that limits us is our fear and our belief that there are limits on us. So I would suggest, as a minister, as a spiritual teacher, that you really take time to meditate, to contemplate, and journal. Sit down and what are your interests? What would you do all day long? Like Jeff Golf, maybe. What would you do all day long, even if they didn't pay you, and yet now you're getting paid for it? And so I would suggest that for you. I'll just give you a little background on myself. I started in banking right out of high school. I worked for a bank, and I got really frustrated with the politics of the people that would kiss up. I'm not really the type of person that is a bootlicker or whatever. I pretty much speak my mind, and it's not that I'm difficult, but I don't like injustice. And so I worked for one bank, and then I went and worked for another bank, and I got really frustrated with the way that I was seen. And I'm not really a woman's libber, but I could see how the men were treating the woman. I saw that at the last bank I worked at, that there were some really, really wonderful women that worked there, and some man became the vice president of our branch because his brother-in-law was in the main office, and this guy was a principal of a high school. He had no banking experience, but he got this promotion. Anyway, we butted heads, and I said, you know what? I'm going to find something else to do, and I'm going to be my own boss. And one day I'm going to start my own business, and I am going to treat my employees the way I would want to be treated. And so that was what I planted in my mind. I thought about it, and I remembered a dear friend of mine from high school went to court reporting school, and she was telling me how great it was. And at that time I was very happy in banking, and I said, nah, I like what I'm doing. Now, of course, when I turned in my resignation that I was leaving the banking, then they wanted to put me in the lending program and do all this. And I thought, no, I'm not going to be tempted by that carrot, because I have a vision of what I want. I want to someday have my own business. So I decided I'd go to court reporting school, and because my friend had done that, and she had started a court reporting agency in Colorado. And she was telling me all about it. And I thought, I could do that. So I went to court reporting school. And then I, at that time, it was late mid 70s, and I lived in San Diego, and there were a lot of agencies down there. And I worked a little bit in court, and I thought, maybe I want to work in court because of the security, and I'm kind of my own boss and so forth. And so my business partner, Donna Ayad at the time, or Donna Siegel actually at that time, she was from the desert here in the Coachella Valley. And maybe I'll finish my story later if Jeff gets back on. Anyway, so we were waiting for our test results, and she said to me one day, we really need reporters, even if you're not licensed, to come and work in the Coachella Valley, and you can come stay at my house. So I left San Diego during the week and I go home to my husband on the weekends, but I worked down here, and there was no court reporting agency. So decided to make the move from San Diego, and the rest is history. And Jeff is back. Yay, Jeff. So I was just giving him a little background of my story. So,
hey, that's great. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay, so you met this investor, this young man who told you about investing, and then what happened?
Let's see. So from that point, I decided to start investing, and we started investing in properties all over the country. And, we did, well over, north of 100 or 200 deals over the course of a few years. But then the crash hit, the real estate crash hit, the global crash. And unfortunately, it was a bit of a tidal wave for me, and I just couldn't stop it. And basically had to start over again. And so I thought, what was happening when I really was enjoying life, and it was golf, and I went back into golf. But at that time, I also met someone in the digital marketing. He was actually in film, and I just got intrigued with that. And I had always loved technology, and I've always been a voracious learner. And very quickly I realized, wow, this is a platform I can really use to get message out, not just for me, but for my clients. And as a golf instructor, what I started doing is instead of me trying to write down notes at the end of, Laura, make sure you do this and this and this, I had pre-recorded messages that I would give you, and the people just loved it because it was a videotape, and I didn't have to worry about replicating it every time or figuring it out. It was just this list of about 25 different things that were common. And I just fell in love with the whole digital aspect of it, and realizing that content is really such a powerful tool. And, the rest is history. Now it's been probably, I think we're going on 7 years, or maybe, I don't know, maybe closer to 10 years with Swing Point Media. We are fortunate to have a really nice list of clients. We're kind of a boutique agency. It's not like we're right at the moment, we have hundreds and hundreds of clients, because most of our clients require, quite a bit of involvement, as you know. And I didn't want to say hand holding, but yes, because for most people, this is a new thing. And for many, it's just been thrust upon them, right? That all of a sudden they've had no choice because their business is closed. And yet the bills keep coming in. They still need to feed their family. They still want to survive. And the opportunity is that superhighway called the internet.
Yeah, so Jeff, when you started coming to the center and taking classes, where were you in this progress, or where were you in this at that point?
Yeah, I was at that point where, I was trying to replace a 6-figure a month income, and I was in I would say a very low state mentally, and been beat up pretty hard. And really the center and the teaching is probably, and I've said this, before, it probably saved my life. It gave me hope. And, one of the things early on that I heard was, hey, when you're going through hell, do not build a condo, keep going. And so that's what I did. And, you helped reinforce that, Dr. Joe, Dr. Bill, Bill Tolliver, Maxine, Dr. Maxine, all the people that were there, it was just like, it was almost like therapy every week. And it was amazing every week when I would come, that the message on Sunday, I felt like it was talking strictly to me. And I think I consumed every class. And you asked me, hey, why don't you become a practitioner? I'm like, no, I just don't have time. I'm in it for the learning kind of thing. And it's really, so that's where I was at. I was in that transition stage. And now it's, now here we are, I think that was probably 15, 16, 17 years ago, something like that.
Right. Right. And so Jeff, one of the things too that so like blows me away, and it's also like, oh my God, you come up with these amazing ideas. I mean, you're constantly pushing all of us, all the ministries that are kind of spiritually slapping us to do more and to go deeper. And yeah, you are a really, really, really good coach. And you really do practice the spiritual principles. I mean,
thank you.
Definitely. You really, really, really do. And I know that without you, we wouldn't be out there as much as we are. I mean, I don't know where we'd be but for all the things that you and your crew. You've got Krista, who does my show. She's in the Philippines. You know how you're working people globally.
Well, first of all, I think you're giving me way too much credit, because I know that if it weren't for me, you guys would have come up with a plan and things would have been fine. I really appreciate it. I'm just so grateful that I was in the position at the time to say, let's do these things. Let's not shutter the doors. Let's do something completely opposite. And you guys jumped on board, and we've done a lot of testing, and some things work, some things don't, and we're just going to keep pushing that envelope. And we realize that your audiences, and this is a huge takeaway. If you write this down, no matter who you are, whether you're individually or you're starting a blog or you have a business, is your audience just grew to almost an unlimited amount of people, because you're no longer talking to the people within a 1 mile or 2 mile, 3 mile radius of your business. You now can ship and work with people globally. And so now it's easier, it's faster, and you have more people. Where before it was like, hey, there's a limited number of people. I can't do this. I can't repeat business with people because this is, they've already bought something from me. But they haven't bought from you in Chicago. They haven't bought from you in Seattle. They haven't bought, and all of a sudden, with the digital piece that we have and we use, there's no limit. There really is no limit. The only limit is your thoughts, and we all know, we just have to think bigger.
Right. So Jeff, with so many people at home, so I had one of my students ask me, and I don't know this. He said, "Well, how do you do podcasts? How do people get involved and stuff like that? If you do have a message and you want to get out there like what we're doing, how do people do that?"
Yeah, I'd say probably one of the easiest ways. I know when the first podcast I did, I called it The Local Voice, and it was not hard. There were certain steps you took, but it was only on iTunes. iTunes was about the only platform out there that you could have an audio broadcast on. But even that today, hey, Linda Dirks, I miss you. Thank you for sending love. It's one of those things where you can go to iTunes, Apple iTunes Store, and just navigate to podcast. And you sign up for an account, which is incredibly easy. There's no cost involved in that. And then you just have to decide, okay, I'm going to record something, whether it's a 5 minute, 10 minutes, a half an hour show, whatever that is. And you can then upload it through so many places. You can do it through Blueberry or Blurberry. You can do it through Google Play. You can do it through, there are so many places. And it's easier now. The barrier to entry today is a fraction. It's like stepping over the curb instead of trying to climb a wall. It was, 7, 8, 10 years ago. And I'm looking in my car, and it's like, geez, everybody has an Apple Play. So it's so easy to listen to your message. And again, this is probably one of those things that people think about, Dr. Laura, is, well, why would anybody want to listen to me? Well, because you may have that story that helps them get to that next level. As an example, if you're climbing a ladder and you're on the first rung, so many of us will say, well, I don't have anything to give. There are people that haven't gotten on the ladder that you could help to get to that next level. And they're looking for that because maybe the person's on, level 10, it's too much. It's like, geez, I can't comprehend that. So it's a great place to share your experiences.
Right. And don't you think too right now, people, because we have so much time with what maybe with what we're doing or not doing, that people are always searching for inspirational messages or something to hopefully inspire them to maybe like you follow their dream. And Jeff, I know you're okay, but what is your spiritual practice? Because God knows you're sending emails and messages at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning to us. Nobody's done Dial-In Idea, and it's and so you have like a every day, don't you? Don't you have your spiritual practice that you do every day?
I do. I tend to, it's kind of what I call, if you looked on my calendar, on my digital calendar, it says it's my time. And it usually starts between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. And I'll start out with, just some quiet time. And I listen now to a recorded message that's kind of, it's reinforcing those thoughts that I want to have happen, that, hey, I am worthy. I can do difficult things. Opportunities seek me out. In other words, they're just affirmations that kind of set the script for the day. Because if you think about it, our life is nothing but a blank canvas, and we have the opportunity to write that script. And either we're going to write it or someone else is. And I decided, with the help of CSL and the teachings, that I'm going to take control of that. So I sit down. That's the first thing that I do, because my mind is real receptive. Science says we're real receptive in the morning when we're not already involved in somebody else's program. So it's about a 5 or 6 minute listen. And then I'll just do some quiet time. And that's really me just opening up my brain and listening for messages. I'm not asking questions. I'm just listening. And then I'll usually do some writing. And I spend some time doing education. I'll watch a video. I'll research some things. I'll read some articles, and then I start on some projects. And that's kind of my day. And it's usually about an hour and a half is what that works out to be every day.
But it just kind of sets you on your path for that day.
Yeah.
Yes. Did Jeff work for the center before COVID? Yes. Jeff used to do our live streaming, and he helped us with other things, but that was mainly, right, Jeff? I mean, isn't that really kind of where you started with the center?
Yeah. When we first started, I remember, I think the first project was rebuilding the website. That's how we first started, because the websites that we were using at the time was pretty old. It was not uncommon. It was what we call a templated site, where you just fill in some blanks, and so we made more of a custom site for CSL. And from there, we started doing some of the social media work, and then doing the daily activities, the daily inspirational messages, and eventually starting to do the live streaming, which really, that was kind of what we really wanted to do and take over, because there was a real added expense of the way it was happening, and there was a streamlined approach that we were using at other churches already that was very effective, and it just made sense. And it made sense to me, because the Center for Spiritual Living is my spiritual home, and it was my way to say, hey, it's investing my heart and my soul in something I know that the returns are infinite.
Yeah, the Jeff, I can't even tell you guys how much Jeff does for us. And for instance, our Sunday shows, we usually have to film them ahead of time so that they can be processed and ready for Sunday. And Jeff does all the, our announcements and everything, our banners. He takes care of the website, the things that get posted there. His Swing Point Media does all of that for us. And we are really, really blessed. And Jeff, I noticed, I don't know that you're the ones helping, but there's so many, I notice on Facebook now, so many of the centers for spiritual living are doing their services on like Facebook and YouTube and so forth. And so, like you said, last week it was really fun when I was on with Neil Donald Walsh, was that there was somebody from Brazil, but now he's a follower. But it just like what you said, you can touch people all over the world now with what we put out there.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, go ahead with that, because then I have another question. I'm going to kind of veer off.
Well, I think the whole idea about, if you with the center trying to take care of all these things, first of all, there's this whole mentality of, how do I do this? And usually that requires more education. And education, there's that resistance. Our brain is like, that's hard. We'd rather not do it. And so what happens is ideas get pushed to the side. And I've kind of adopted a new mentality is it's who, not how. And who do I need to collaborate with or bring on my team to get this done? Because now that's a process where you can duplicate your efforts. And it's amazing, like Krista as an example. I'm so grateful for everything Krista does, because she allows, our services, our daily activities to take place. And she does some other live streams for some of our other clients. And it allows me then to do other things that will also reinforce or help them, but not skip a beat. But if it was always how can I do that? There is a limit to that. So I would encourage everybody, when you have something you want to get done, like as an example, let's use that whole idea of have a podcast. How can I make a podcast? Who do I need to know that will help me put my podcast out? It's a more powerful question. And, let's face it, the answers lie in the questions that we ask. If it's like, and you've taught me this, it's like if we ask the question, oh, why does this always happen to me? You're going to get an answer, but it's not going to be the answer that will get you out of that, right? It's like change the question, change the outcome, change your life. So I'm going to encourage you today to change it from how to who, not how. Who do I need to collaborate? Who do I need to know? Who do I need to reach out to do those things? And it's amazing if it could save you a day, an hour, 6 months, a year. Wow. What's the value in that?
Right. Well, that's a good point. Okay. So let's say you've got a podcast. You start your podcast. I'm going to ask a how question though. How do you get it? I mean, so you've got it, and so you just post it and just keep doing new ones until people start watching you. Is that basically what you do? And
there's a couple ways. There's an organic method, meaning it's free, and then there's a paid method, and you have to decide which one you are. Of course, when you use paid traffic versus free traffic, it's almost like, if you're going to start a barbecue grill and you try to start it just with the blocks versus putting a little lighter fluid on it, we know one will start faster than the other. So it depends on where you're at. But the bottom line is create and share. So what that means is, if you only have 10 people in your email database, send it to those 10 people and do it every week. Do it consistently. This is where most people drop off, is they do it inconsistently. And that's where I have to, commend you and everybody else at CSL. You guys have been consistent now for, 220 or 50 episodes, and just keep churning. The other piece is share it with some people on social media. Start bringing up topics that are of relevance that you can speak about, and you can get some free boost on that. As an example, let's say you're talking politics, and your thing is you're giving a daily update on XYZ, local politics, as an example. What a great idea. So you're putting that information out, and people will pick that up because you are a broadcasting station for that information. And all of a sudden, people start following you. I have a friend in Arizona who started this, and now he's one of the main, or is becoming one of the main trainers for Tony Robbins worldwide. And he started out just doing podcasts, and nobody was listening to him. And now he's training people. So that's how it happens. But it's not an overnight thing. And this is the big thing, is start taking action, execute. When you execute and you're consistent, nobody can stop you.
Right. Wow. Well, look at you, Jeff. I mean, so like why you're not in a place right now is because you're on your way to Irvine for a new client. You're
Right.
You're all over the place, aren't you now? You're all over the divine place helping people. Now, how did you get a client in Irvine, for instance? How did they hear about you?
Yeah, this is from one of our current clients. He referred us, and we had a couple of phone conversations, and we did a Zoom call, and we kind of walked through what he's looking for, and the rest is history. It's we have another client coming online. I would say in the next 4 or 5 days. They're from South Carolina, which is also a referral, and because at the end of the day, it's like anybody. If they're needing help, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. If it's something that we can prove works, it's trackable, and it's our method is mostly it's a done for you method, but there are some components, as with you being on this show every day, but we take care of all the digital back end stuff. It's important that if you're the business owner, I think, to have a face in the company. And because we get to know you're not a paid actor or actress, and we get to know you a little bit. But most of the business we do now is coming from referral business, and we love that because we have a nice, strong track record of, when we do X, we know Y will come out, and it's very predictable.
Right. Wow. So Jeff, on your so I know you do our center. You do another church here in the desert, right? You do another.
We do.
What church is that? Give them a plug.
Yeah, that's in Sun City, and that's Friendship Church, and that's an amazing location. We actually have been doing that longer than we have with Center for Spiritual Living. Oh. And Pastor Lou and the board of elders out there are amazing. We've loved working with them, and unfortunately, Pastor Lou will be leaving us at the end of this month, and they're looking for a new lead pastor. We've got somebody in place that I think there will be an interim pastor while that's happening, but he's done an amazing job. Most of his tenure has been during COVID lockdown, and we meet every week and do the same thing we do at CSL Palm Desert, and we film, and we kind of created a green screen environment. We call it Studio A, and we love that. And we get in there and film, and we do that on Wednesday. So we did that yesterday. It's a couple of hours together.
Right. That I think that. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, and the coolest part about that is, they say that from a growth standpoint, their church has not missed a beat. It hasn't missed a beat. The only thing that's happened is, of course, they can't meet in person, but their views are very, very high. Their support for their church is either on par or even higher than it was the year before, because maybe the presence that they're having, the support they're giving to their community. It's fun to see that we weren't absolutely chained to a block or a brick and mortar location to make it work, because now we're more convenient than ever. If somebody misses this, you're on demand. I can come back and watch the higher view anytime I want, and I may come back and watch it a few times and really get what I need out of it. So that's kind of cool. It's all about content. You're building this amazing library of content. I have to take my hat off to you guys.
Oh, well, Jeff, yeah. If you hadn't been lighting a fire under us, we would have been not knowing. We'd be running around with our hair on fire. So we so appreciate that. And then also, you've been doing work for the organization too, haven't you? You've done trainings for the organization, haven't you? They've tapped into. I know that I think founders, for instance, I think they called maybe Elizabeth or somebody and asked, how are you guys doing all this? And she suggested you. And so that's it. You get a lot of referral work. And isn't that what life is all about? If you know somebody has a need and you know somebody great, you pass that on. And you've helped us so much with so many things.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and now we've got all these new ministers that have really stepped up, and that's helped us. So, I mean, if it had just been Dr. Joe and Reverend Charles and myself, it would have been very difficult to keep, because this does take, even behind the scenes, a lot of work to plan and to get organized and so forth. And yet I know that we get so many comments from our congregants and from people thanking us for what we're doing. And also you take care of our website, and we have a lot of things on our website thanks to you. All of these talks, right, that we do there, you can link and go in there and hear past talks from our website, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything that's on there, if you hit, view past services, because everything like this show, Krista is taking this and she's broadcasting it simultaneously on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you were to miss this or you wanted to share it, you could go to the YouTube channel at CSL Palm Desert on YouTube, and you could look at, videos, past videos, and they'll all be there. And what we try to do is we try to do what we call playlists. So if you wanted to just look at, let's say, your shows, the higher view, it's under the playlist, the higher view. So they're all categorized together. If you just wanted to look at past services, you could look at the Sunday services together, or, the Fabulous Five, that type of thing. They're all there together. So it's really easy to jump in and say, hey, I really dig the Fabulous Five. I love having all their comments and their points of view. And I just want to hear, what they're talking about. Like, their topic yesterday, I thought was excellent. And because we are a diverse group of people. And so anyway, it's all there on the website.
Yeah. So one of the things is, how you talked about how you start your day with inspirational, I really suggest to people that when you're down or you feel like you don't know where to go, those are great things on our website to go to get inspired, to get lessons. And Reverend Charles is going to be starting a class. That starts in another 2 weeks, I think, his class that he's doing.
January 25th.
January 20th. Yeah, he's doing, is it Beyond Limits? Is that what he's doing? Is that the class? I can't remember. I think it's Beyond Limits. And that's, there are no limits, right? I mean, you're definitely proof of that. And so I would suggest if anybody has any questions right now about how do they get started. And so you have a podcast. What about Instagram? Because I was even thinking, except I get so paranoid, I thought I should do my dial-in ideas on Instagram, and go get those messages out there that way too. But so you have a podcast. Can you also then put them on? See, I'm so non-techie. I'm lucky I can turn on my computer. And so what about like Instagram and that platform? What's the benefit of that?
Well, if I were coaching someone, and let's say I am coaching you, and you're saying, hey, you have this podcast, and what do you do? Here's the one thing that we want to really point out is be careful about building your story or your business on rented land, because if Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whomever, they change their rules, which we're seeing a lot of that right now in the digital space, it could literally put you out of business. So I would recommend saying, hey, if you build a podcast, I would put it on my website. You own that piece of real estate. That's yours. And then I would use those platforms like Facebook, like Instagram, like TikTok to drive them back to your podcast. So that way, if anything changes, you still own the asset. The asset is your information, your story, your podcast. And then when they're there on your website, get them to join, subscribe to you. And now you're building your own database. So if anything changes, you can still send them an email, send them a text, and you're not asking Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram permission to do so. And so I would recommend that think about like the wheel on a bicycle, and you have all those spokes. All those spokes should be places where you can say, hey, today the hub is my website with my podcast. How many of these spokes can I maintain? Well, maybe I can do a TikTok video. Maybe I can do an Instagram post. And maybe that's all you need to do right now. And then as you get those started and you get more proficient at it and you realize it's not so difficult, then maybe you want to post on LinkedIn if that's where your customers are coming from. And maybe you want to post on this, and then you want to write whatever it may be. Use those to drive people back to your main piece, and that's your podcast.
So I always, because I know nothing, like I said, and so maybe I'm a good person to ask these questions that are ridiculous. But like LinkedIn, I always thought LinkedIn was for jobs. I thought that's where people went to get jobs or look for jobs. No, it's more than that.
It's becoming more than that. And here, when we start measuring things, we look and say, okay, what is the audience? How much content's being put out there? What's the ratio between consumer and producers? And the producers are the people like what you're doing right now. You're producing a piece of content. And right now on LinkedIn, there are way more people consuming and not enough producers. So what that means is if you put your message out there, Dr. Laura, on LinkedIn, the chances of you being seen by your ideal audience is much higher. Like if you put a post out on Facebook or you put it on Twitter as an example, it shows in the timeline for seconds. So that's, it's almost like, if you're looking out the car window and you're going 55 or 60 miles an hour, things pass very quickly. But if you put on LinkedIn, it's like staying there for a period of time. Maybe it might stay there for several hours or several days. And it has much more reach. So LinkedIn is not just about jobs anymore. People are going there to learn things.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's kind of cool to know. So, all right, Jeff. So now here you are. So let me ask you a question. So but you still teach golf too, though, don't you? You still do some golfing, don't you? Still do a little instruct. I don't know how you have time for anything, Jeff. I don't know. Do you even see Carmen? Oh no, Jeff! Don't tell me we lost you now. Did we lose Jeff? Oh, okay. There's some tip. Okay. So I will go back and finish my story. So I came to the desert in 76 and we saw that there was a need. There was no corp. There he is. I don't know. I'll finish my story one of these days. No. There.
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. Okay. So I asked you, so what are you doing for fun these days, Jeff, besides working? I mean, do you still golf? Do you still teach? Because I know you kind of have fun teaching too, don't you? The golf or no?
I do. I love to teach. Yeah, well, I love to teach. I'm no longer teaching golf. This whole COVID-19 thing has really been difficult. It's kind of closed down some of the places where I would teach. And, I have a very small group of people of about 10 that I would love to teach every year. And they would come out for the season and we decided it was more of, we were friends, dear friends, and we get together and they would teach, they would learn golf and whatnot. This year we haven't done that. And quite frankly, I just have been to the point where there's just not that time. So right. I don't teach golf. I have fallen in love with a new game though, Dr. Laura, called Pickleball. I'm sure you've heard of it.
I've heard of that.
It is.
Is it like a tennis? It's tennis, so isn't it? What is it?
It's like ping pong on a tennis court, only it's much smaller. And so you use a paddle instead of a racket. I understand a racket has strings, a paddle does not. So I've been corrected on that.
Oh,
and
okay.
But it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun. I've taken a bunch of lessons, and I've enjoyed it. And
I heard Reverend Charles.
Yes, well, Reverend Charles. Yes, he's an athlete, so he's out there playing, and we were supposed to play on Monday night. He got derailed, but I'm surprised. I wasn't surprised, but I was impressed by his ability to play. The first time we played, he's quite an athlete, so it was a lot of fun.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm happy you're having fun, because isn't that, we can't just, it's great. I can tell that part of your work is fun. It is fun for you. You have such a passion for what you do, and your mind, Jeff's mind, let me tell you, is going, it's like almost every day we get like, oh, we need to do this. You should try this. And that's great, because you motivate us. You kind of push us. I know you push me for sure out of my comfort level. And so I'm so appreciative of that. So do you have any big plans or any big thing you have coming up, or?
Well, we've had, this past Monday, we had a pretty big shift in my company. And I can't quite roll it out yet and talk about it, but we have some really cool things going on that I think my team is going to be very excited about. And I'm really fortunate. I have a gal, her name is Michelle. She's my administrative assistant, and she's been a godsend. She works for me out of Houston, and she's helping a lot with what we do. But we've got some good things coming up, and yeah, I'm excited about that. I want to share one thing, and I'm going to change this on our kind of our tagline. You know, like every time you have a website or a name of your company, you have a little bit of tagline. And what I've come to realize, and hey, maybe it's just me, is anything we want to know is now at the end of our fingertips. And what I mean by that is you can Google it. You can watch it on YouTube. I don't care if you want to do brain surgery, there's probably a step-by-step guide out there on how to do that. Or if you want to learn how to play the piano, there's a step-by-step guide, and it's all free. So I think we're in a situation where it's not lack of information, it's lack of action. So my new tagline is execute, stop talking. In other words, just do it. And I know that just do it is a well-known tagline by Nike, but it's like execute, just do it. Execute and stop talking about it, because there are so many people over the years that I've consulted or talked to, and they're still talking about it. Nothing's happening. And I want to be known for that person that said, I didn't talk so much, I just did it. And then I told you afterwards about it, or you read about it, or you saw what it was. And you know, that's what we did at CSL, is we said, let's just do it. Let's do this 5 days a week. No, let's do it 7 days a week. Let's keep the services going. And we just did it. Other churches have not, and they're trying to now pick up and go. Well, guess what? You know, you have that first mover advantage because you already have, 250 or 300 total episodes out on the internet that are fresh, and people have come to know you for that. I'm not saying you can't do it, but execute and stop talking.
Wow. Well, that definitely is what you do. and you really have been a lifesaver. So I would say anybody, that wants to get your product out, whatever it is, it may not even be talking like what you're going for today. It's not that they're doing a podcast or anything. It's a business. So you're also helping businesses. I remember you telling us at one of our meetings how I think it was an air conditioning or heating company, and how you really helped them a lot get their message out there, and their business really picked up, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's something that, again, is very strategic. It's very systemized, where we created content. If you think about it, we always say, never put a piece of content out on the internet that your ideal customer is not already searching for, because there's so many people that will put out a message, Dr. Laura, because they feel like it's the right thing to say for their business, but nobody's searching for that answer. So I would say, hey, thank you, Happy Self. I really appreciate it. We decided, hey, what kind of questions would that air conditioning, heating, and plumbing company, what would their ideal customers be searching for on the internet, and then put it out there. And it wasn't I call it a chest beating thing. I'm the best plumber. I'm the best. No, it was actually solving the questions with a real gentle call to action. Hey, if this is over your pay grade and you need help, my information is on the screen. Give Gene a call, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Now, we did this every week in and week out, and we saw their traffic grow and grow and grow. And good news, bad news. The good news is the owner of the company became a target for a larger company to buy them, and he sold his company and made I don't know what kind of profit he had, but his goal was to sell his company. He did, and he told me, he said the only reason was because of the work that we had done and the digital footprint. And so that's kind of cool. We saw his traffic on his website grow 80x, not 80%, but 80x. And, when you have that happening, it's really hard not to be successful.
Oh, so that's what I kind of brought that up because I want people watching to know that you're not just limited to inspirational messages that Jeff and his company Swing Point
No.
Media puts out. They do so much for so many other people. You might have a great idea for a business that you want to get started, and you just don't even know where to begin, especially in this climate. And so I just want to say, don't let COVID limit you by what you can or cannot do. Don't let anything limit you, whether it's COVID or you just don't know. There are, like Jeff said, there are people, there's so much information out there. You know, our wonderful Reverend William, he couldn't do everything. I have been in the office with Reverend William where he doesn't know how to do something and he will Google it and he will watch YouTubes about how to fix something. And next thing we know, he's doing it. You know, and so here's the thing. I love what you're telling all of us is to execute. You know, do your research, do what you need to do, but then you have to take steps and don't be afraid to take those steps. And I'd love to have a Jeff just there all the time doing these things, helping me, and we really do, because he's like our beck and call guy, you know, Jeff, help us. And
I'm fortunate.
Oh, well, we're very blessed. And all of you watching, all of you that tune in to all our programs, this is the man and his fabulous staff, like Krista is so sweet. And then you have that administrative assistant in Texas. You know, you've got people all over. And that is the beauty of technology. You can have people assisting you from anywhere in the world. And it really shows that we are more of a global community, aren't we, than we've ever been because of the internet. But you've got to be proactive. You've got to be willing to get out there and take some action. And Jeff, you are an inspiration. No.
Well, thank you. You know, the biggest thing that's holding the only thing that holds us back anymore is our thinking that we can't do it, or that here's something that has held me back, that is no longer holding me back, is I just need to learn a little bit more about that. I just need to learn a little bit more about that before I take action. And now I'm saying, I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to learn along the way. And you know, one of the richest companies on the planet, Amazon, you know, Jeff Bezos says that they launch when they have 40% of it right. 40%. Mm-hmm. And they just fix it along the way. And there are many times where I work with people, not CSL Palm Desert, but there are times where they won't let it go out until it's absolutely perfect. And then they might miss the opportunity. Instead of, let's put it out. And if it misses a comma or it has one word is spelled wrong, I would rather be out and wrong than it not get out waiting for perfect. And right. Because let's face it, our brain has the ability, we've all seen that, where it's a jumble of letters, but yet our brain quickly understands exactly what it said. We don't hold that against you anymore. We don't. No. We want action. We want answers. So take action. Take action. Don't feel like you have to learn more. Just do it. Even if you're just saying, hey, I'm going to pick up my cell phone and I'm going to record into the built-in recorder on my phone. And that's my first podcast. And I'm going to share that link to everybody I know. That's a start, gang. That's a start.
Right.
Go do it.
So when you say share your link with everybody you know, you mean like all the people on your email? I mean, what does that mean with everybody you know? Just all your friends or what?
Well, as an example, we have for Swing Point Media, we have a database of names in there. People have followed us, they've come to our talks, whatever it may be. There's 753-ish. And so that's my platform. When I put something out, I put it out on that. That's my database. So I put it out to that. And there's no selling, it's just sharing information. Well, yours may not be 700, it may be 7,000, it may be 7. Start. Mm-hmm. And so it may be you share it there. And then you take that same link, Dr. Laura, and you put it on your Facebook page. Then you put it, wherever. and just ask people, hey, if you like this, do me a favor, share it with one person you know. You know, most of us, when you have a Facebook page or an Instagram, you have between 250 and 500 people that will follow you or you're following. So there's a potential of people that will share your message. And if you have something relevant that's really good, I share stuff all the time. You know that. You get my shares at 4:30 in the morning that's the way it works.
Right.
That's the
right.
viral we're looking for. I don't care if any of my stuff ever goes viral. I would rather have, 100 people who needed that message today get it than 100,000. And it's some vanity metrics that I say, oh, that was really fun, but it meant nothing. I would rather those 100 people that needed to have that message got it today. And if I keep it in my head or I keep it on my phone and I don't share it, shame on me. We have an obligation to help those 100 people. So I'm putting the obligation on you, Dr. Laura, that you should be doing that. I'm going to should on you today.
You're going to shit on me? Okay, I need to be shit on a lot. So I appreciate I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody that's watching. And I appreciate everybody at Swing Point that does so much for, not just for our community, but for so many people in the world. You're making such a difference. And so I so appreciate your time today, Jeff. I know how busy you are all the time, and you're on your way to Irvine. You pulled over just for our show today. And so I just want everybody who's watching, please support the Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert so that we can continue to have these wonderful shows every day at 10 o'clock. And that I'm starting a book study on Tuesday. I'm going to be doing the God's Solution, the book that Neil Donald Walsh and I spoke about last week. Please go to RevLShack at AOL and ask for a link, and I'll send you a Zoom link for that. It's a love offering, just like this group is here. There's a link here that you can go to. You can always go to cslpalmdesert.org for so much content, and also to support the center and everything we do. Next week, I'm going to have Yolanda Nava on, actually for the next 2 weeks, and we're going to kind of review 2020. It's going to go. The title is going to be From Griping to Gratitude. And so we're going to really focus on that. Thank you, Jeff. I know you're on your way to Irvine. And so please join me for the next 2 weeks. 2020 was a difficult year for some people. Some people, it was a wonderful year. We're going to kind of review that and what are the things that we can be grateful for. And because as Neil talks about in the God Solution, and so many people, all spiritual teachers teach us how important gratitude is. So the gratitude that we put out into the universe, it comes back to us pressed down and overflowing. Gratitude is like a magnet for good. So we're going to be talking about that for the next couple weeks. And I think this is a really good time in our country, in the world, to focus on truly the gifts that we do have, and bringing us together as a nation, as humanity. There's only one life, and what we know is that life is God's life, and that life is our life right now. And so how are we showing up each day? And are we recognizing the God in each person? Are we looking for the bad, or are we looking for the good? Okay, so please join me for my book study. I do book studies really different than most book studies. We actually, as the group, will start from chapter 1 and read it. I don't know how many weeks the class will go. It's from 4:30 to 6:30. It might end a little bit early depending on where we are in the book, but we actually talk about it and discuss it. And what do you think about this thought that Neil is sharing with us? And we get into some pretty lively conversations. So that's this Tuesday at 4:30. Go to REV as in Victor, lshack, SHACK, at AOL.com and ask for a Zoom link, and I will send you a Zoom link the day before the class. So I want to send you many blessings, lots of love. Don't forget to join Reverend Charles tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and have a very wonderful day. And don't think about it, start executing. All right. See you next week.